Hey, welcome back to another episode of 501 BBQ. I'm Brian Robinson. We have Kelsey behind the camera, and today we are going to show y'all how we cook up a Texas style pork butt. We are right in the middle of this coronavirus, so we've got us some pork butts that we're smoking today so we can put some meat in the freezer, and we're going to show y'all how we do this one Texas style with just your salt, pepper, garlic. We're going to be using this Killer Hogs TX brisket rub. It's new. I have not tried it before and I can't wait to try it. So let's get this thing going. All right, what we got is it was about 8.5 pound pork butt. We took it out of the package. I didn't really notice anything that I needed to trim off. We're trying to get as much meat out of this as we can, so I'm not going to do any trimming unless it just needs it. So we're just going to come in with no binder, and we're just going to start layering this rub on. Make sure you get all the sides. And this does have a lot of pepper in it, but this is a big old chunk of meat, so it can take a pretty good amount of seasoning. That looks good to me right there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to let this hang out on the board right here while we get this PK grill fired up. Let's head over there. All right, we're here at our PK360, and I already have the charcoal in it, but we are using Royal Oak Chef Select briquettes, and you can use whatever you like, but smoking in the PK, just make sure you use a good quality charcoal that don't leave a whole lot of ash. So as you can see over here, we do have our briquettes just kind of little under half the grill, and I did a rough estimate. That is about 60 briquettes. And so we put a small pan right here where the pork butt's going to be, and all that's going to do is catch any drippings that just kind of keep your grill a little cleaner. And so I did put just a little bit of water in there. That way the drippings don't burn and give you a bad smell, make that pork not taste as good as it could be. So we do have 2 tumbleweed fire starters right here in the edge. And so all we're gonna do is light those. I'm gonna leave this lid open for just probably about 5 minutes to let those really get going. And then once it's time to shut the lid and do the setup, we'll come back to y'all. Our coals are starting to turn white where these tumbleweeds were, so we don't want to let it get going too much before we get the lid closed. We don't want to overshoot our temperature and have to come back down. Easier to climb up than go back down. So we have 3 pieces of wood, 2 pecan, 1 cherry, and these are pretty small chunks, so your bigger chunks, a lot of people use, it would be about 1 of those. So we don't use a whole lot of wood. So we're just going to space these around where it kind of catches at different times. And we'll get this shut, and this grate does lift up and down. So later on in the cook, if we do need to add more charcoal, we can do that pretty easy. So the setup on the PK, you see a lot of different ways, but I just do it like this. A lot of people will put some bricks in here to keep the coals from falling over, but they stay pretty well put just doing it like this. So this is how we roll with it. So as soon as this comes up to temperature, we'll get this butt on. We just shut the lid, but I did want to come back and tell you, currently we have every intake and the exhaust wide open until the temp starts climbing up and kind of getting close to where we want it, and then we will come back and show you all the adjustments we're going to make then. But I did want to add just right now, let it eat, let that airflow get through there, start heating up. So we'll come back to y'all as soon as it's time to set this up for smoking. We're starting to get some good airflow coming through the PK grill. I don't know if you can see this smoke coming out. So we're around 175 degrees. So how we're going to set this up is, like we said, charcoal's over here. The pork butt is going to be setting right here. So we're going to close this intake all the way, and then we're going to shut the exhaust on the side where the charcoal is. So now our air is going to come in from this side, come through the grill, by the pork butt, and out this exhaust. So that is the setup, and that's kind of the same way no matter what grill you're cooking on. If it's a charcoal, if it's the classic, you just want your bottom intake open on this side, the exhaust opposite of it open. So just make sure you get that good flow of air through and around that pork butt. So as soon as this thing gets to the temperature we want, I'm not sure what that is yet, we'll get this thing on. All right, the PK360 has came up and it is time to put this pork butt on. The thermometer here shows about 250. But what I like to look for is the flow of heat and the smoke coming out. Can you see that right here? So right now our, whoa, butcher paper. But what we got is, I look at this flow coming out of the exhaust. So right now our intake is all the way open and we like a good flow of air coming through it. So if you can see this, if I close the intake down, how that slows down and it just barely draws through, and then open it back up and it starts going, we want good airflow. This could be 250 degrees, it could be 350. I don't really care. I don't really look at the temp that much. Learn that airflow and it'll make you a better cook. So all we're gonna do is get this on, and we're just gonna set this right over the pan. And so we are going to take our dot by Thermoworks and put the probe in, and just this thickest part right here. I'm not really a temperature guy from the beginning, but a lot of people are, and it's kind of good to know the rate that this is going to cook. So we've got one of our chunks of wood has caught, so we're going to be getting some good smoke from that cherry. Our pecan is staged up here. So we're just gonna let this thing roll for a few hours and we'll come back to y'all. And another thing, we are gonna start this timer so y'all and us know exactly how long this has been going. Y'all stick around, we'll come back to y'all. The pork butt's been going almost an hour and a half, hour and 26 minutes to be exact. And so we have made us up a little spritz for the pork butt. And all we did was 16 ounces of water and 2 tablespoons of the Killer Hogs hot sauce. That's just going to bring in a little vinegar and some garlic, just awesome flavors. You can use any hot sauce, but this is the one we like. Awesome on turkey sandwiches too. Try that out. We're going to see what she looks like. Still got some nice smoke rolling. Getting an awesome color on the pork butt. We are getting some dry places up here on top. The corners still have a little moisture. So we're just gonna go ahead and just kind of give it a spray. Get it all. Looks good to me. We're just gonna leave that setting out here. So as you can see, our coal is starting to kind of burn up. Not burn up, burn forward. And so we're getting to our pecan wood here now. So here in a couple hours, we'll probably have to add some more coals. So until then, y'all stay tuned. We've been going right at 2.5 hours. Our internal temperature is at 110 degrees. So we are climbing. So we are gonna check this to see if we need to give it a little spray and maybe add a few more coals. So this thing is looking really good. We got some fat coming out, which is a good sign. Got an awesome color. So we're gonna hit it with this mixture of just water and the Killer Hogs hot sauce again. I need to get me one of those orange pump sprayers that I see everybody using, because this thing's making a mess. But let me grab some different gloves and we'll show you how we're gonna add some coals. All right, got my high heat gloves on. We're ready to go with this. This PK360, the grate that comes with it, has a hinged grate right here. All you have to do is pick that up. So I'm gonna kind of push all these up here. That'll work. I'm gonna grab this Royal Oak charcoal. Get all that staged right here. Now once it gets done burning this way, it'll start back this way. So shut that. We've still got a couple chunks of wood here that are got a little bit left, so that's all the wood we'll add. See, it's starting to smoke up a little bit. So we're just going to get the lid closed, and we will come back to y'all whenever it's time to wrap this thing. We've been going right at 3 hours and 24 minutes, and I think it's probably going to be time to wrap this thing. We are sitting right at 300 degrees right now. It is averaged between 275 and 300, and we are at 141 degrees internal, and that is looking good. That's about as dark as I want to get it. We've got a good bark going on. It is fully set. So we are going to pull this probe out, and we'll see y'all at the table, and we will get this thing wrapped up. We got this thing on the board here. We've got 2 pieces of heavy-duty aluminum foil. We were going to stick with the Texas theme and wrap in butcher paper, but we pulled off a little piece a while ago, and that was all we had. So now we are resorting back to the foil. So that'll be all right. So before we wrap this, we're just going to take our spritz, and we're going to hit that again just to give some more moisture and flavor in this wrap. That'll work right there. So the way I always do it is I take one piece, come over the front, pull the sides up, and then wrap over the back. And then we will do the same thing. That is definitely personal preference, but I've found out that that holds all the moisture in, so we will get this back on the cooker. We're going to get this on right back where it was. Our charcoal is looking good, so I don't think we have to worry about that for a while. So we're going to set that right back on the rack, and we're going to come back in with our probe right in the same spot. And so we will come back to y'all whenever this thing's done, good and tender. All right, we have hit 200 degrees, and our dot is telling us that. So this butt has been going 5 hours and 54 minutes. So we are gonna double check with the Thermopin just to make sure we're good and tender. Just give it some pokes here, sliding in like butter. We done. Up here in the front it's gonna be higher, so it is 205. So this thing is done. So we're gonna pull this probe, we're gonna get the butt off, we're gonna set it on a pan, and we're gonna let it hang out for a little bit. Normally we would like to rest it for an hour and a half or so, but due to doing a video and it getting darker, we're not gonna wait that long, but we are gonna let it rest as long as we can. So we'll come back to y'all whenever it's time to pull this thing. After 6 long hours, this pork butt is finally done, and it looks beautiful, I think. It looks, that TX brisket rub with all that coarse pepper and salt just made an awesome bark on this thing. And the first thing we noticed whenever we unwrapped it, it did have a beef smell, so up your beef game with this TX brisket rub. So we're gonna try it out on this pork butt. So before we pull it, let's just go over a little bit what we did. We started off, this was an 8-pound pork butt. We seasoned it up with the Killer Hogs TX brisket rub. We didn't use a binder, we just went straight to the meat. We fired up our PK360 with some Royal Oak charcoal. It ran about 275 to 300 the whole time, and like I said, a 6-hour total cook time. We wrapped after, I think it was 3.5 hours, somewhere right in there. And so we did spritz, here's our spritz, with a mixture of 16 ounces of water and 2 tablespoons of the Killer Hog hot sauce, just to kind of ramp up those flavors with that spicy sauce, with that vinegar. I think it's gonna really knock that out of the park. But we did that 2 times, I think, and then once we wrapped, we gave it a pretty good dose in the foil. So here we go, let's dig into this thing. The first thing I think you have to do is pull the bone out. Is that what everybody does? Clean bone, cooked right. We'll go with that. But You can use forks to do this, or they make these claws, but I'm just a fan of the cotton glove under the nitrile glove. So we'll just go ahead and dig into this thing. Looks good. I can't wait to have some of that bark. Just falling apart. We did take it, it was about 200 degrees internal temperature. Go ahead and get some of this pulled. I know this meat in the very back is going to be really good too. It's got a nice bark on it. That's always some good meat around that horn right there. It is hot, but here we go. Man, that pepper, we're just, whenever we do ribs or pork butts at home, this is the kind of seasonings we like. On the competition trail, it's sweet barbecue. Whenever we're home, we just like some nice flavors on it that just something a salt and pepper rub gives you. So we appreciate y'all watching, and y'all stay safe out there. Stay at home if you can. Cover your mouth when you cough. And we'll look back on this video years from now and be like, what was Corona? And wash your hands. Wash your hands. Wear gloves if you cook. We always wear gloves when we cook. So y'all, thanks for watching. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and we'll see y'all on the next one.